We have some Xbox news and rumors to get into, from Ubisoft Plus potentially coming over to Xbox very soon, and the Activision Blizzard deal has gotten its first regulatory authority approval. All right, guys, before we get into this, I have 4 months to hit my goal of 10,000 subscribers. I see a lot of you are new to this channel. If you are, please consider hitting that subscribe button if you enjoy this video. So Gamescom is just around the corner. As we know, with Xbox and Xbox Game Pass, they have integrated different services into the ecosystem, such as EA Play, which I think is a great addition, getting access to that entire library if you are subscribed to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. And we know that Ubisoft Plus is coming over to Xbox, as they did put out this announcement a while ago, back in January, saying Ubisoft announced that its Ubisoft Plus subscription service will be coming to Xbox in the future. And I mean, if you're a Ubisoft fan, you enjoy their games, you like Assassin's Creed, you like games like Rainbow Six, Rise Republic, Far Cry, it's a pretty good service to get into, as you're only paying a monthly fee and you're getting access to all of these games, and you're getting access to like the complete editions and the ultimate editions of them. So there's a lot of value for this service coming over to console if you just want to subscribe to that alongside Xbox Game Pass. But it would be even better if they included it into the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate membership, even if they were to increase the price maybe for another tier that gets you access to that. I think that would be a very cool thing and something that people would potentially want to invest in. But I feel like they're just going to be putting it on the console itself, because we have seen recently over the months Ubisoft just releasing some of their games into Xbox Game Pass, games that are older, games that need to be revitalized, games that probably didn't get enough attention, such as the one that we are getting this month, which is Immortals Phoenix Rising. And now we have this from Agornamenti Lumia, who has been known for leaking stuff and tweeting out stuff that has happened. They've also gotten stuff wrong, but they did tweet this picture out here, which is Ubisoft Plus, and has people speculating that at this upcoming week at Gamescom, and this is just around the corner, Xbox is going to be announcing a bunch of stuff. They have their own show, and there is a feeling that they are going to be announcing that Ubisoft Plus is going to be making its way over to Xbox. Now, we don't know what this means. Is this just going to be this announcement here where it's going to be added to Xbox in terms of its own separate service, or are they going to do something crazy at this show and announce that there will be some sort of integration into the Xbox Game Pass service? We know that they are also working on a family plan, so there will be changes to the Xbox Game Pass subscription in terms of how much you pay and all that type of stuff. And maybe they will announce something that will give us just an extra tier, pay a little bit more money, and then you get access to an additional service like Ubisoft Plus. It would be interesting to see what people think about that, if they would be willing to pay maybe $5 extra a month in order to get access to this Ubisoft Plus service, rather than just paying for it separately and then paying for Game Pass for just console or PC beside that on its own. I think people would be willing to pay just a little bit more and get even more value for the games that are already in there. I mean, there's so many games to play already within Xbox Game Pass, and more are coming, but it will be interesting to see what they do with this Ubisoft Plus announcement. Now, that's not the only thing that potentially is going to be announced at Gamescom from what we are seeing in terms of leaks and rumors. This game here, Lies of P, looks like an incredible game. It's a Souls style game. If you've seen the gameplay, it looks really, really good. The graphics, the atmosphere, the combat, all of that type of stuff looks like it will be a major hit when it is released. And it is going to be at the Xbox show. And then we got this from the Snitch, as we know, is leaked a lot of stuff, pretty much been correct about almost everything that they've put out. I think they've gotten one thing wrong recently, which I think a lot of people got wrong, and that was the date and time and all that stuff for the God of War Ragnarok announcement. But put this out, it's a Morse code, and people have been deciphering it. We go down into the comments, and they are saying that it has to do with Lies of P coming over to Game Pass. And I think this one will come true. I think this does make a ton of sense, especially because Lies of P is going to be featured at the Xbox showcase. So for them to actually just go out, show off the game, and then at the end of the trailer or whatever, show off that Lies of P is coming over to Xbox Game Pass is something I would not be that surprised to see. And they're also going to be talking about Lies of P at the Gamescom opening night live with Jeff Keighley, so they could also potentially make the announcement there. But I think Lies of P would be a great get to have onto Xbox Game Pass, simply for the fact that we don't have a release date for this yet, but they're really showing it off, and I think they will give us a release date at one of these shows. And if that release date is the end of 2022, it will be a big get for Xbox Game Pass to make up for the lack of first-party games if they can launch it right into the service. So we'll wait and see what happens with Lies of P. I just have that feeling it's being shown off at the Xbox show. We're seeing the snitch with his little thing that he does there to get people hyped up for potential leaks and rumors. I feel like Lies of P is going to be making its way into Xbox Game Pass. And I think the Gamescom show is going to have a couple of surprises, more so than we usually get from Gamescom. So I'm pretty excited for what we're going to be seeing in this next week of showcases. All right, jumping over here to something that is a discrepancy that I think we need to talk about, just because it is with such a major game that comes out every single year, and that is Madden, and the difference between the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. And there is a pretty big difference here between the two versions, and that has to do with the frame rate. The Xbox Series X runs Madden 23 at 120 frames per second, and the PlayStation 5 is at 60 frames per second. It says here, lastly, the graphical fidelity setting on PS5 are incomplete. You can choose between performance mode, which runs the game at 60 FPS at 1140p, or image quality mode, which runs the game at 60 FPS at that 4K resolution. On the Xbox Series X, the performance mode targets 120 FPS, so until EA Tiburon patches that, there's no point in using the performance mode in graphical settings on Sony's console. Now, is this something that's going to stick? It's hard to tell. This is an article from PSU, so obviously it's a PlayStation slanted website, and they're saying here that EA Tiburon needs to patch it before you can actually use the performance mode. But are they going to patch it on the PlayStation 5 and give it the 120 FPS? They could not. I just don't see why they would have released this game, which essentially should be the exact same across all platforms, without 120 FPS on the PS5 if it could handle it right away. And that's a big difference for such a major game, for people going out there and choosing where they want to play Madden this year. If they see that they can get that 120 FPS mode on the Xbox Series X, and they're at the store trying to choose which console to pick up the purchase, they may just go with the Xbox Series X, because Madden, Call of Duty, these styles of yearly releases where these are games that this is the only game that they play. It's the only game that they play every single year, and they spend the entire year playing this game. They may not have that loyalty to one console or another, and they may just go with the console that gives them the best performance and the best version of the game. And right now, that 120 FPS is going to be the best version if you're wanting to play Madden 23. So we'll see if this affects the amount of people who go out and purchase a console just to play the game. This kind of reminds me of the beginning of the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 era, where we were doing comparisons back then just like we're doing today, and we saw stuff like this. This is with Madden NFL 08, where the Xbox 360 version, they say here, ran at a pretty solidly 60 frames per second, and the PS3 version was closer to 30 frames per second. Now, I know those aren't one-to-one comparisons, this versus what we have here with Madden 23, but people will look at this stuff, and if they see that the better version of Madden is on the Xbox Series X, they will purchase an Xbox Series X over the PlayStation 5. But again, this could just be something that does get patched out in the future, but we'll wait and see. Madden 23, there is a 10-hour trial right now on Xbox if you have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. If you do want to go check it out and try out that 120 FPS mode. Okay, jumping over here to the Activision Blizzard deal. Now, we know that this deal potentially could close before the end of the year. We see here all of the dates where these regulators have to make a decision by, and the FTC has to make a decision by the end of this month, whether they want more information or if they are going to allow the deal to go through. And that's going to be a big moment as to signifying how fast and when the Activision Blizzard deal is going to close. Then we're going to be waiting on the other big ones like the EU and the UK regulators to go through and make their decisions. But we did get the first regulatory decision to approve the Activision Blizzard deal, and that is from Saudi Arabia. And this is from Clobrel saying Saudi Arabia is the first regulatory authority to approve the Activision Blizzard acquisition. You can go down here. I obviously can't read any of this, but they are approving the Microsoft's purchase of Activision Blizzard. And you'll have people in here asking questions like, Genuine question, why should Saudi Arabia approve this deal? And Clobro, because Microsoft wants to sell products and experiences in Saudi Arabia that are connected to this acquisition. Person says, I have no doubts this won't get approved by all the major regulatory agencies. They might make Microsoft sign a consent decree to make sure Call of Duty stays multi-platform, but that's about it. And the response here, it was already decided to leave COD multiplayer. And this is one thing people keep going back and forth on. Microsoft and Phil Spencer, they've come out. They've said, we are leaving Call of Duty multi-platform. Yes, you could say they are just saying that to get this deal to go through, but I think logically, if you sit back and think about it from the business side of things, it really doesn't make any sense for them to take Call of Duty off of PlayStation. And I really don't see them doing that, at least this year or next year. And then maybe they will reevaluate a couple of years down the line if they're able to transfer enough people over to Xbox Game Pass once people see that they just have to pay for the subscription service to get access to the game every year. Potentially at that point, they may decide that they're going to take it off of PlayStation, but I still think that would be very unlikely. So I don't even think there's going to be any sort of stuff within this deal, such as making Microsoft sign something saying that they won't put Call of Duty on PlayStation. I mean, they've already said that they will, and maybe they are saying that just so they don't have to sign anything like that. But I don't think in any way that's going to hold up this deal. Person asks, does it have to be unanimous, or can some countries not approve? And the response is some countries can refuse and ask that a company from that country buy in, like with TikTok in the US a while back. If no company bought in, then they would not be able to sell in that country anymore. You have Benji Sales saying here, expect to see a lot more of these going through in the next couple of months. And this person says, we are in the end game now. And I actually think we are in the end game. I think this deal is getting very, very close to closing. And with this going through, and then by the end of August, once the FTC, I'd assume, is going to be approving this deal to go through, we may see this deal close before the end of 2022. And that will be very exciting. And even if it doesn't, it will be closing, I think, early in 2023. And like I've said multiple times talking about this deal, I'm just most excited to see what Xbox does right away with Xbox Game Pass. How many Activision Blizzard games are going to be dropped into the service? How deep into the back catalog of games are they going to be putting in there? Are they going to be putting in literally every single Call of Duty available right now for everybody to go out and play? It would be super cool if they did that. Just give a huge drop of games, especially kind of to make up for the lack of the first-party Xbox games in 2022, which people are upset about, whether you care or not. I personally think that they did drop the ball on not releasing any games, not having a contingency plan, but it really hasn't affected the amount of games I've been able to play, just because there's so many games on Game Pass and my backlog is huge. But just for the goodwill, I think they need to do something massive once this deal goes through in terms of adding tons of these Activision Blizzard games right away to the service. And I'm sure they will. And then we'll see going forward with Call of Duty. That's going to be the big thing. How are they going to handle the marketing? How are they going to handle the release of them into Xbox Game Pass? And how big of a difference is that going to make for that new users acquisitions for the upcoming Call of Duties? When people look at this and say, do I want to continue to play this on PlayStation, or do I just go over to Xbox and play it with Xbox Game Pass? But that's it for me, guys. What are your thoughts on all of this Xbox news, the rumors for Lies of P and Ubisoft Plus? What do you think about Saudi Arabia approving the Activision Blizzard deal? And what are your thoughts on Madden 23 and the discrepancy in the frame rates between the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here, you liked what you saw, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.
We'll be right back.